Millions of people have already pre-ordered the biggest game in history. They have handed over real money, and almost none of them know the two facts that should have decided the purchase. Pre-orders opened on June 25th. The release date is locked hard for November 19th. The Ultimate Edition costs $100, and people are paying it blind because Rockstar has refused to answer the only two questions that actually matter. Question 1. Will Grand Theft Auto 6 run at 60 frames per second, or are you locked at 30? Question 2. Will you need a $700 PlayStation 5 Pro to get the good version? Or is the normal PlayStation 5 sitting under your TV already enough? That is the entire decision, and Rockstar has said nothing. Not about the base console, not about Xbox, not even about the most powerful machine money can currently buy, and the most respected technical analysts on the planet believe they already know why the silence is this total, because buried inside that $700 Pro, underneath all the marketing and all the muscle, sits a 7-year-old brain, and that brain might be the only thing standing between you and 60 frames per second. But before you go anywhere near that pre-order button, you need to know that a leak came out of PlayStation itself from inside the building, and it answers both questions in a way the experts swear is impossible. By the end of this video, you will understand the uncomfortable truth. They can both be right at the same time, and the answer changes exactly which console you should be buying. To understand what Rockstar is about to do to you, you have to understand what Rockstar has done every single time before. When Red Dead Redemption 2 launched, it ran at 30 frames per second on every console it touched. No performance mode, no smoothness option buried in a menu. 30 frames, take it or leave it, and the entire world took it. It sold tens of millions of copies, it swept the awards shows, it is still called one of the greatest games ever made, and to this day, running on a PlayStation 5 through backwards compatibility, it is still locked at 30 frames, because Rockstar never released a native upgrade. That is not laziness, that is a philosophy. Rockstar made a bet that most studios are simply too frightened to make. They bet that you would trade smoothness for density, more pedestrians on the sidewalk, more traffic in the streets, more systems grinding away under the hood that you never even see, more world. They made that same bet on hardware from 2013 with Grand Theft Auto 5, and here is a detail almost nobody remembers. Grand Theft Auto 5 did not get a 60-frame option until the expanded and enhanced edition, nearly 9 years after it first launched. 9 years. So the pattern is not a rumor. The pattern is a decade of hard evidence, and if the pattern holds, you already know exactly how this ends. Except this time, something leaked from a place that almost never leaks. And it does not just bend the pattern, it breaks it. Keep that in the back of your mind, because first you need to see the wall with your own eyes. Here is the technical reality that nobody at Sony wants printed on the side of the box. The PlayStation 5 Pro is marketed as the most powerful console ever built, and when it comes to raw graphics, that is completely true. A bigger graphics chip, far better ray tracing. A clever upscaler they call PSSR that sharpens the image at higher resolutions. All real, all impressive. But frame rate in a game like this one does not live in the graphics chip. It lives in the processor. The processor is the part that has to think. It has to think for every pedestrian crossing the road, every car in traffic, every physics calculation, every layer of simulation happening across an entire state at the same moment. And this is exactly where it falls apart, because the processor inside the $700 Pro is almost identical to the processor inside the cheaper base PlayStation 5. Same basic architecture. A chip designed back in 2019, that is the 7-year-old brain, you can strap the most expensive graphical muscles in the world onto it, and it will still think at 2019 speed. The lead analysts at Digital Foundry looked at everything Rockstar has shown, the crowd density, the traffic, the simulation running beneath all of it, and their verdict was blunt. In their exact words, 60 frames feels like a bridge too far, even on the Pro. They pointed out that dense city locations are where frame rates collapse first, and that the Vice City they have seen looks another order of magnitude more demanding than famously heavy games like Dragon's Dogma 2 or Baldur's Gate 3. Then they added the part that seals it. You can cross this world by land, by sea, and by air, and every one of those vehicles needs its own expensive physics, the exact kind that normally forces simulation games down to 30 frames. Their prediction is 30 frames as the baseline everywhere, with at best a 40-frame compromise. And if that were the whole story, this video would already be finished. It is not finished because while the analysts were running their numbers, someone with a direct line into the actual game said something that flips the entire debate on its head. An insider with a track record for accurate PlayStation leaks claims that a PlayStation engineer told him something genuinely remarkable. Grand Theft Auto 6 is already hitting 60 frames per second on the PlayStation 5 Pro, right now across multiple graphical settings, because Sony's own engineers are sitting shoulder to shoulder with Rockstar, optimizing the game specifically for that one console. He says this is happening because of a marketing deal between Sony and Rockstar, and he claims the same engineers are quietly helping on several other Rockstar titles too. He is so confident that he has said, publicly, that he will delete his account and walk away from the internet forever if it turns out to be false. That is not how people talk when they are guessing. So what does all of this actually mean for the two questions you came here to answer? Think of it as three doors. Behind door one, the insider is right, and the Pro becomes the only machine on planet Earth running this game at 60 frames, which means the normal PlayStation 5 is not enough, and that $700 price tag suddenly buys you something no other console can give you. Behind door two, Rockstar splits the difference with a 40-frame mode. That sounds like a small step, but in frame time, it lands at 25 milliseconds, sitting almost perfectly halfway between 30 and 60, and it feels dramatically smoother than 30. There is just one catch that almost nobody mentions out loud. A 40-frame mode only works on a television or a monitor that supports 120 Hz. If your screen does not, that entire mode is invisible to you, and your $700 Pro quietly drops right back to the same 30 frames as the cheap console, running on the same 7-year-old brain, and behind door 3, the analysts are right. Everything is bolted to 30 on every machine. The Pro buys you nothing extra, and the smartest financial move you can make today is to buy absolutely nothing, 3 doors. And Rockstar could open the correct one with a single sentence. Which brings us to the question that should disturb you far more than any number on a spec sheet. Pre-orders are live. Money is changing hands by the second, so why are they still saying nothing? Here's the angle that almost nobody in this entire argument is willing to touch. Earlier this year on Epic's own stage, CD Projekt Red ran a Witcher 4 tech demo at 60 frames per second, with ray tracing switched on a base PlayStation 5, not a Pro, the standard console. That same 7-year-old brain that everyone swears cannot possibly reach 60 was reaching it live in front of an audience for 14 straight minutes. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, the way most channels covering this simply will not be, because it matters. CD Projekt Red stated very clearly that this was a tech demo and not real gameplay. It was a controlled slice built to show off engine tools, not a living open world stuffed with the kind of simulation Vice City is going to run. So no, it does not prove the hardware can carry Grand Theft Auto 6, but it proves something almost as important. The wall is not made of silicon. The wall is a choice. Rockstar could hit 60 frames tomorrow if they wanted to, by thinning the crowds, calming the traffic, dialing the simulation down. They are choosing not to because their entire identity, the thing that separates them from every other studio alive, is a world that feels more alive than anything else in gaming, and underneath that choice sits a colder one. Silence is not just artistic restraint, silence is profitable. Every single week that passes without official specs is another week where nobody cancels a pre-order over a disappointing number, because the number does not exist yet. The vagueness is not an accident. The vagueness is the marketing, and then there is the detail that should make you squint even at the good news. If the true ceiling really is the processor, and the Pro and the base machine share almost the exact same processor, then a 60 that magically only exists on the Pro does not fully add up. Either the bottleneck is not purely the brain after all, or that leak is describing something far narrower than the headline makes it sound. Both of those things cannot be completely true at once, and Rockstar is perfectly happy to let millions of people argue about it, for free, for months. So the real question was never simply whether Grand Theft Auto 6 can run at 60 frames per second. The real question, the one that decides whether you spend nothing or $80 or $700, is whether Rockstar wants it to. And everything, 10 straight years of everything, says they will sacrifice your frame rate for their world every single time without blinking. Maybe the leak holds and the Pro becomes the one glorious exception, and the normal PlayStation 5 is left behind at 30. Maybe the 7-year-old brain wins in the end and every console owner on Earth plays at 30 frames, exactly like they did with Red Dead, and the reviews scored a perfect 10 anyway. But understand what that outcome actually means for you. The first machine built to truly run this game the way it was meant to be experienced has, in all likelihood, not even been released yet. And Rockstar is completely fine with that, because they know you're going to buy in regardless, possibly twice. Once now, on the hardware you already own, and once again when the definitive version finally arrives on a console that does not exist yet. If you want to know what is actually hiding inside those pre-order editions, and whether that $100 Ultimate is worth a single cent over the standard one, Watch the video on your screen right now, because what Rockstar is charging you for and what you actually receive are two very different things. And subscribe. Because the very second Rockstar breaks its silence on performance, we are tearing it apart frame by frame right here.